What is up, Brainiacs? What's going on, guys? So, I made a video kind of like this one a few months ago, and it was titled, So You Want to Start a Bait Business. And one thing that I wanted to come back to this subject because there was a lot of things I touched on, and there's things that I didn't. I spoke about, that there's a lot of competition, somewhat of the cost, and your bags, and your, I don't even know if I really touched on plastic and all that stuff. But this video is going to be more of the pros and cons of starting a fishing bait company. Now, you're going to run across a lot of videos of, guys making fishing bait. They're pouring, they're making all these crazy, these crazy designs, and they're kind of, feeding a narrative that this is easy to do. Now, I fell into that myself because I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I said, wow, this seems like it's so easy to do, and let me tell you something, it's not. As far as getting supplies, and that's easy. You go online, you order a couple things, you get, you remember, you're going to have to source plastic, source materials. Yeah, there's a couple good companies out there, but everybody has their opinion on what companies they like to use. Everybody likes their own opinion on what plastics they like to use. I personally, I played that game for a while, and I got better at it, and I figured out what kind of plastic I like to use. I seen what my customers liked, so I stuck with that particular plastic. Now, I'm not going to sit here and promote anybody because I'm just not going to do that on this video. I'm not going to promote products. I'm not going to tell you guys where you shouldn't get these things from, because I feel that this is an individual thing. I feel that if you want to be the best, you're going to have to do your homework, just like I did, just like a lot of these other guys did. Yeah, you can always email me, reach out to me and ask me, hey, what do you think of this and that? And I'll tell you, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for helping the next bait maker. I'm all for helping the next person who's starting this business, because I feel that the pot is big enough for everybody. Now, when you're in this business and you're getting, let's say you're getting a little traction, you're getting known, you're going to get a lot of hate. You're going to get a lot of people that say that you suck, a lot of people that say that you don't know what you're doing, this, that, and the third. It's part of business. It's just part of it. Now, you have to take all that stuff and take it as a grain of salt. You can't get scared and be like, oh man, these guys hate me, or this, but listen, everybody has an opinion. They're like buttholes. Everybody has one. So don't let that scare you, because when you're doing this, you're going to have to be different. You're going to have to go against the grain when you make your product, because you want to stand out from the competition. The competition is always going to be competition. They're there, and not for nothing. It's either, are you going to eat and worry about what they're talking about, or are you going to step up to the plate, like seriously, and freaking hit that ball out the park. You can't be scared to, go in the ring with Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather. You have to go in there, knuckled up, and you have to fight. Because that's how this business is. You're gonna meet a lot of great people, a lot of wonderful people along the way, and you're gonna meet a lot of people who just suck. It's part of it. You're going to have a lot of people who suck, and you're going to have a lot of people who just have way too much, way too much info, or way too much something to say about what you're doing. So you have to be mind strong and be like, you know what? I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to figure this out. Because that's just how this is. Now, the bait making industry or business is very tough, because you're going against people who've been doing this for, 20 plus years. I've seen people who are in the game for more than 40 years, and I see what they're doing, and I'm like, wow, I can't wait to get to that level of business and bait making and pumping out that type of, because I pump out good plastic. But my flow is up and down, up and down, up and down. Some weeks I can't get out of this room, and some weeks I'm just chilling, because that's how competition is and that's how business is. So you really can't worry about, every day is going to be different in this. And that's what I want you guys to understand. You're not going to get rich overnight. Some people get really lucky. That's a small percentage. But if you keep up with the work and keep up with grinding it out and learning your craft and, constantly, throwing out, marketing and ads and all this stuff, you're gonna reach an audience eventually that's gonna be like, wow, I really like this stuff. And then eventually you're gonna get customers who are gonna continue to buy your product because they like your product and they trust your product. And that's what I've thank God I've been able to achieve that. It hasn't been easy, but it's something that with hard work and determination I've been able to do. Now, as far as making this stuff, it's one thing seeing this done on a video. I can't stress this enough. When I bought my first gallon of Plastisol and I bought my first molds, I got everything and I set everything up in the shop. I had, this table, and it didn't have none of this. None of this was here. It was just this microwave, and I believe one glass and a handful of colors, a handful of glitters, nothing serious, and one mold. Now, when I got that one mold and I pumped my first worm, mind you, my first worm, I poured it and it was cool. I had bumps and it changed the way I felt about this. I was like, I could do this and I could do this and I can make a good product. But once I got my injectors and everything in front of me, and I was sitting here doing this, and it turned into a reality because there was Plastisol everywhere. Everything was so hot. I was new to this. Then it got real scary. It got scary because I invested some money, and it was like, this is a real thing right now that you're trying to do. And I had no logo yet. I didn't even know what I was going to call my company yet. I just had a bunch of ideas and I was throwing them back and forth with my partner, and it was just like everything was so uncertain. I remember I was going to call the company Fish Sticks at one point, which I thought was pretty cool, but organically everything changed with time. And then and eventually we came up with Brains Baits, and it was, it represented everything we were all about, and it was really cool. Eventually we learned how to, let me tell you something, I pumped hundreds of worms before I was able to sell one, because I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing. And once I learned how to do them really good, we opened our first e-commerce website. And we learned how to take pictures. That was a pain. You got to get the lighting right. I'm still learning as I'm going to this day. And and let me tell you, we've done okay making worms, and making, we went from making one worm to now we have over 21 different type of baits, and that was really cool. And it wasn't easy because we kept on grinding, kept chiseling. When you're working on a masterpiece every single day, you have to take your chisel and your hammer and you have to keep banging away at it until it becomes the work of art that you want it to become. Because that's just part of anything. If you're an artist, you're a painter, you're a mechanic, you're a welder, you're a policeman, a fireman, anything, a swimmer, a baseball player, a fighter, you're going to have to work on your craft every single day so you can get the end result, which is success. Now, let me tell you, like I said, it took a while for me to get good at making these baits, and it's not as easy as these videos make it seem. Yes, it's one, two, three. You heat up some plastic, you suck it up in an injector, and you pour it in a, and you pump it in a mold. But what you got to get your temperatures correct. Make sure your molds are correct. Your ratios on your colors and on your pigments and on your glitters. All that takes time. You have to, you little by little you start getting it, and then it becomes second nature, and it does become easy. It does become second nature. Now I make I'm really proud of what we do here, because we really learned, and it wasn't easy, and it was something that in the beginning we didn't know that we would get this good, and we got good. And this isn't me patting myself on the back. This is hundreds of other people telling me and telling my partner that we're good and not to give up. We have a lot of old school bait makers who'd say it. Hey, you guys are like the future. So when I say these things, I don't say it because it's coming from me personally. I'm saying it because they're giving us the credit and the props, and it feels really good to get that kind of recognition when we're still essentially the new kids on the block. You see a lot of guys that don't make it past 6 months, and in the first 6 months, I didn't know. I honestly, I didn't see us moving. I didn't see us doing anything, because it was so tough getting this off the ground. It was literally like lifting up a 1,000-pound car by myself, and eventually, it happened and it worked. But what a lot of these guys won't tell you is how expensive this gets. Yeah, it's amazing to have your own business, but a lot of these guys won't tell you the real cost of things. When you're buying molds, they don't tell you that, sometimes those molds are $300, $400 for certain molds. Cheap molds, yeah, cheaper molds, you could get them. You could go and get a stone mold for $20. But what they don't tell you is that when you pump that stone mold a couple times, what's gonna happen? It's gonna the design on the stone is gonna end up going flat after a few pumps. After a couple, maybe let's say 20, 30 pumps or whatever, it's gonna go flat, and you're not gonna have the design there anymore. So then you have to rebuy it again, and you're not going to have the sheen that comes out of pumping out of aluminum. Now, these are the things that most people don't tell you. I'm here to tell you it's not hard and it's not impossible, but I feel that you should know this before you get into this. Understand that this is real expensive. Not for nothing. And I'm just talking about this side of the shop. We're not talking about this side, none of the other sides of the shop. Just behind me, right here, behind me, there's over $15,000 in stuff here. Doesn't look like it, but it all adds up. Plastisol adds up very quickly. I've already pumped a couple drums of Plastisol. Not gallons, drums. Now, you do the math, and sometimes Plastisol could go. You could buy a gallon of Plastisol, I think, right now for about $40, and I go through a gallon of Plastisol a week, probably more. So we're pumping over 5 gallons. We're pumping well over 5 gallons a month, and that's nothing. That's nothing. That really isn't. You're making a couple $1,000 maybe, and it also depends what you're pouring, what you're pumping, how you're pouring it, how you're pumping it. Also depends how much waste you have, you got to be very careful and not burning plastic. We've gotten a lot better at not burning plastic. Out of 50 cups, let's say, out of 50 cups of plastic, maybe 3. And that's because we're not paying attention. we're doing other things as we're doing this, and that's when you out of nowhere you may burn a plastic, or and it's not even necessarily burning plastic. Sometimes you overheat it and you ruin a color, and then now you can't use that color. Now it just goes into the bin of of scarcity, that you're just throwing it into a pile that you might not ever use again. And I have buckets of pucks, that are just sitting there, and that's the only waste we really have. But you're gonna have stuff like, I see a lot of guys out here trying to do inventory for a store that's not even going, and they're following the leader. And why are you making inventory and pouring 1,000 of the same worms when you don't even have 1,000 customers? They make all these bags of all these worms and all these pours and all that. No, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Keep it simple. You have to realize that in the beginning, a lot of this stuff comes out of your pocket. I don't know if you guys even know how expensive marketing and ads are online for a business. I spend personally over $400, which may seem like nothing to some people, but over $400 a month on marketing and ads across Google, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all that. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap. And then you got to remember, there's going to be times that you don't get any conversions. There's going to be times that you have so many people visiting your website and nothing's moving. It's like a slug. But that's just how it is, because you got to remember, there's a lot of people who like to window shop. There's a lot of people who like to just look around, see what you got, and keep it moving. Do I have mom and pop shops that I've supplied to? Yes, absolutely, I do. But that's not going to happen every week, every month. It's sometimes it's every couple of months that moves. And then you got to remember, there's seasons that you're moving like crazy, seasons that you're slow. Look at that hurricane that happened a couple months ago in September, and then I believe in the beginning of October. Those hurricanes affected our business so much that I ended up having to switch up some of my companies, because the companies weren't even open to provide Plastisol, and I had to go and source it from other places. Thank goodness I was able to find the quality that I was looking for, and actually a better quality product, because I was getting frustrated with all the bubbles in the plastic. And I have a vacuum chamber for all that, but when you spend money on this plastic, and it's supposed to be low bubble, and it's supposed to be high grade and blah 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 blah, and it doesn't come in that way, it starts getting frustrating when you're spending money on 5 gallons, and once you separate everything and you see that you don't have 5 gallons, anybody's going to get frustrated, because some of these places, after shipping and handling, you're spending about $170, and it depends where you're at. I'm in an okay area that my shipping prices from wherever I get the stuff from to here, it's usually about between $30 and $40 for certain things. And it also depends the quantities that I'm ordering, because sometimes it gets very expensive just ordering the simplest things. And it's crazy because when you're the little guy, all those numbers start to add up. And that's a big thing of the cost of doing business. I see guys out here going crazy, spending $1,000+ on 500 bags. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? 500 bags for over $1,000. I have the bag people hitting me up all the time. Hey, we could put your logo on a bag. Guess what? I can too. Boom, I put a sticker on it. Let's go. I got the same high quality bags all the stores got. Sometimes even better. My bags don't leak. My bags don't lose, the oil and all that. It doesn't absorb oil. Come on, man. You guys are out here spending that money on that. That's crazy. And then you're wondering why nothing's moving. Listen, if I would go crazy, I would cry. If I would sit here and I'm spending $1,000 on nonsense and it's not moving. You crazy? There's times that I spend a couple $100 on a mold, and I do all these colors. I'm pretty excited about it, and then it doesn't sell for 2, maybe 3 months. And then when it does, I'm like, wow, finally something sold. You know what I mean? And it's part of business because you're learning every single day. You're learning what's right, what's wrong, how you do it, how you don't do it, what's this, what's that. But I don't know, guys. I just wanted to just try to help you guys out a little bit, and just try to point you in the right direction of when you do this. Like I said, you guys could always hit me up in my inbox. You guys can always, through YouTube, through Facebook, through Instagram. You guys could go on any of the Brains Baits pages, and even on the website, you could hit me up and you could, send me a message. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm always willing to help anybody out. I'm not too cool or too big for me to be like, oh, I'm not going to help you. You're nobody. Because I've already gone through that. There's been a lot of anglers, a lot of people who are real corny. And then what's even crazier is that when I was starting off, they wouldn't even look at me. And now they're in my inbox. Hey, you think you could supply baits to this and that? And, I don't say no, but at the same time, I look at the people who did, and do talk about us in a negative light. But, at the end of the day, like I said, the pot is big enough for everybody. And I feel that, we could all do it together. Yeah, we're not all the same pocket, but we all can help each other out. I have people who, when I tell you I have people who hate, they hate. And you know what? Guess what, baby? We're here. And finally, I could say, on YouTube, for instance, we have over 13,000 over 13,000 subscribers. Next couple months, I feel that we're going to be in the 20,000s. Pretty cool. And, these are things that brick by brick, day by day, I've been building. And it's not easy, but, soon we're going to be back outside fishing, making fishing videos, catching fish again. I haven't been able to get out because on a personal level and on a personal note, I've been really busy. I have a hectic schedule. It's really hard to get out and to do these things when you have to work 40 hours, come to the shop and work another 40 hours. And then, right now I'm in the process of finishing up school. So it's like, it's never easy. And it's never an easy day around here. Yeah, we make it look really fun. But there's a lot of seriousness that goes behind all this. So like I said, guys, you guys can always hit me up. And I'll tell you where I get this plastic and where I get my materials from. Just hit me up. And, most likely you already know. And, there's like I said, just don't fall into the hype of certain companies and certain products. Learn and see what you like. Do never follow the leader. Never. Learn, please, guys. Learn. That's the only way you're going to get good at doing this. And then eventually, you're going to pass everybody out. It's better to be the turtle than to be the rabbit. Always remember that. And as always, use your brains. Use Brains Baits, baby. And, visit the website if you want. Subscribe. Comment down below if you made it to the end of this long ass video. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for every one of you guys who subscribe and actually like our content. Thank you. And as always, like I said, as always, and it always will be, use your brains. Use Brains Baits, baby. Peace, good luck, treat each other the way you want to be treated. Later.